Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, and I am the much better looking of the pair. And this is Tim right over here, and this is Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, we've got an amazing show for you guys. I hope you enjoy every second of it. We've got updates with buyback, backfires. We've got NRA distancing itself from, Wayne LaPierre. Kind of weird. We got CNN really questioning a bunch of things about the election, and we have a gun grabber segment that's going to make you clutch your pearls. This is going to be one of those, Tim.
Yep.
And with that, people, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video and send this to your friends, family, and everyone you care about for freedom. All right. With that said, Tim, we've already established I'm the better looking today. So how are you doing?
Well, I don't know, man. At this point, I think I'm going to go visit a beauty salon after the show because I'm feeling like self-conscious. Other than that, I'm doing great.
You should. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, every other day you're the really pretty one. So today I get to shine. So just have that. It's because of this amazing beard I'm feeling today.
Equity, folks. You're witnessing equity in real time. Okay, come on.
Okay. Sorry. You're the one that just brought that in. You know what, Tim? I like you this morning because you brought that spice. You brought that spice.
This episode's going to have spice.
Nothing says spice. It's always good. We went over the spice on this one. So, Tim, what would you say if I told you that you remember that whole hullabaloo and little backfire about gun buybacks and the idea that they were only destroying the frames and receivers, but they're selling the parts, and the left, you could literally, it was like a scene from the Raiders of the Lost Ark where their skin was melting off their face.
You're doing what?
Yeah. You're doing what? Yeah.
You mean you don't destroy these guns for free?
Exactly. There's a little bit of fallout, Tim. This is number one. Doctor, I hope you're doing well today. This is number one. All right. MSP, this is Michigan State Police. Michigan is, by the way, one of the biggest contributors to the gun buyback scheme under Whitmer. Halts contract with the gun disposal company after the expose reveals resale of parts. So now gun buybacks are bad now, Tim.
Well,
they're bad.
Just for those that didn't see our previous episode talking about this. So what the problem here is that the gun buyback company will either charge you to come to your event and chop up the guns and dispose of them, or they'll show up for free, no cost to you. But then after they destroy the receivers, they take the parts and sell the parts to get their income, because we live in a capitalist society. I know these Marxists that can't wrap their goofy little heads around it, but people don't work for free. Even the Marxists that want to take all your stuff and give it out to everybody else and redistribute it, they don't work for free either. So apparently this is causing a problem for them. Yeah, we're not going to pay them for their services. Dang it. We're just going to get rid of them.
No. Exactly. So now instead of paying for the service, like you said, we're just going to cancel gun buybacks, which the big irony in all that, of course, is I thought that was like the virtue signal of the left. It was like, we did this many gun buybacks. In New Mexico, we've got people who violate the law on the regular. I mean,
state and federal.
It's just,
these people.
It's just so comical, dude.
When you're a gun grabber and you're going to break laws, break them all, man. Go state and federal.
Listen, if you're going to do it right. But let me show you some of the stuff here, because I find this just comical. This is a great update. So this is number 2. The Michigan State Police placed its contract with Missouri-based gun demolition business Gunbusters on hold this month after the New York Times article, of which we covered. Tim, would you believe it? They actually only destroy the frames and then sell everything else in a dreaded kit. A kit, Tim.
Yes. It's not a firearm, folks. It's just bits and pieces. Sure, they can be reassembled, but you got to buy a receiver.
And that's evil. Which is the gun. Which has the background check, which is so weird because, again, guys, if you zoom out and you look at everything that the gun controllers tell us, and they beat us over the head with it. Universal background checks for every gun. If we only had background checks for every single gun, then we'd have no problems in the entire world. Well, in this scenario, all the gun buybacks, they're destroying the actual gun. To Tim's point, you'd have to buy another receiver, which is a gun, and then have a background check, and all of a sudden that's bad because that stock and that grip and that barrel, it was associated with evil, Tim.
Well,
it looked at a gun.
This is kind of a roundabout way of proving yet again that their end goal here, folks, isn't safety.
Yes.
This is all about taking guns away. And so when they found out that the destroyed guns that were turned in, the parts were being resold to people that might remanufacture them into working firearms. But as Braden said, they have to go through a background check. The safety part that they want, they have to go through the background check that they imposed on us. They have to go through all the steps of gun control that they've placed on us to reassemble it. But man, that isn't good enough. No. Oh, we're going to yank our contract because how dare you build a gun? And that, my friends, is where they're coming from. They don't want you having guns. They want to take them all away. And this is just more proof of it.
It's so fascinating, man, because all the nuance and all the fight that we do in the entire sector, not just you and I, every time that we have a conversation about a move that they make, it always reveals their true purpose. There is never a point where it actually says, oh, they do just want common sense gun reform. No, it's always to the furthest extent, because there's always a problem with anything that they have outside of what they're talking about, like this, for example. And if you wanted to know, for the people who are not gun people, this is number 3, last part here. The disposal process complies with the ATF.
Right. So that they're torch cutting the receivers.
What's the problem?
Unlike the clowns in New Mexico who are bandselling once through the receiver and then taking those firearms to a school and giving them to children, they're actually torch cutting them, destroying a 1/4 inch of material in 3 cuts through the receiver. So the ATF, rules are met. I don't agree with those stupid rules, but hey, that's what it is.
But they're there.
And they love them. They're doing everything that they're supposed to according to the law, but still the anti-gunners, we want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Well, that was the first update we had for the people. I enjoyed that one. I really love showing people that kind of stuff. But now this next one, Tim, this one I put in for you. This one is for you because I like you as a human. Would you believe, Tim? How many days ago was it that Wayne LaPierre retired from the NRA? Like 5?
A couple days
4?
ago. Yeah, I don't think it's been a week yet.
Right? Very recently. Well, it turns out, this is number 4, the NRA lawyer distances gun group from LaPierre's lavish spending. Wow, that didn't take long at all, did it?
No, because remember, folks, a lot of NRA members had no idea this stuff was going on. I actually, in one of my posts talking about LaPierre's resignation and Midway USA making some crazy post, which they ultimately deleted, praising his contribution to the 2A world and all this stuff. And
did they delete that one?
They deleted it. Yeah. And I of course, I screenshot all those posts and I just reposted it. And I'm like, I think they mistakenly deleted this. But anyway, so here we have the NRA. Well, but I guess my point in all that, first of all, was that, I actually saw comments in that post saying, I don't really understand why is everybody so mad at LaPierre and the NRA? Honest question. Like, there are people still living under rocks that don't live in the 2A community. They're just kind of passing through. They own a few guns, but they're not really into the whole gun rights fight. And they don't know what the NRA has been doing for decades under his mismanagement.
Right.
$40,000 suits, private jets, fine wine, going all over Europe, making deals with dictators for money, and all this crazy stuff that he was responsible for. And they don't know about it, even though many of us have been screaming from the treetops, look what these people are doing with your due money. And they're not helping. And they just didn't get it. But now we have this lawyer saying, oh yeah, all that stuff basically is true. We want nothing to do with that.
Wasn't us. It was him. Yes.
Wasn't us. That was all him.
Like
the crazy
4
man.
days, dude.
Weekend at Bernie's looking dude.
4 days. Yeah. Exactly. Well, listen to what they said. I find this fascinating. Then we're going to break this down a little bit because this is still an update, but this is number 5. On Tuesday, a lawyer for the group, Sarah Rogers, tried in her opening statements to distance the organization from Mr. LaPierre, telling jurors that while he was a valuable leader, quote, he was not always a meticulous corporate executive. The NRA is not Wayne LaPierre.
He wasn't meticulous. Okay. He thought it was a $4,000 suit, folks, not 40.
He didn't know. I mean, he wasn't meticulous. Like, the mistakes happen.
Yeah, I mean, he was a valuable leader. He just sucked.
Right. Them watching them try to do the balance, and this is where the marketing and the PR comes in. I love this part. This is where it's like, well, how do we not make the existing NRA members who are still there pissed, but also appeal to the people who are pissed? And it's like, while a valuable leader, he wasn't always the most meticulous. You know what, PR person in the marketing department?
Yeah. Slow clap for you. This is clearly them trying to throw themselves at the mercy of the court by saying, yeah, we don't want anything to do with him. But hey, he was a good leader, but he wasn't meticulous. Now he's just crooked and corrupt. They have words for that.
Exactly.
Meticulous isn't the word we're looking for, folks.
You know, it's funny you say they have words, because if we go number 6, she didn't just stop there. Still, she was unsparing in her evaluation of Mr. LaPierre's tenure, arguing that while the NRA was under his control, there had been, quote, a betrayal of the group's mission. When problems surfaced, these problems were corrected.
No, they weren't.
Okay.
So this is epic. So she just said what we've been arguing for years, folks.
Yes.
That under his control, there has been a betrayal of the group's mission. And what is that mission besides training and stuff like that? The ILA's mission is to preserve your Second Amendment rights. And they have screwed that up for decades. They have wheeled and dealed with your rights, brokering power and money for themselves and trying to keep the gun control thing going for as long as they can. The NRA has no desire to get a definitive court decision that says, hands off, Second Amendment. It protects an individual right to own a gun. No more into discussion. No more lawsuits. It's over. The Second Amendment exists. Repeal it if you don't like it. Right? But they don't want that. They need it to keep going because this is how you keep paying for Wayne's suits and his wine and private jets and all the stuff he was doing. So, oh my goodness, this is epic. They admit that he
exactly.
It's right there.
Wow,
from
Tim,
a lawyer.
You okay over there? You okay? You okay? You good? You look so gleeful.
It's vindication.
You're glowing.
Because you know how many arguments I've had over the years with people? And people that are in the Second Amendment community that I respect. I've had arguments with them, some big names that you would recognize about the usefulness and the validity and the NRA itself and even the corruption of the NRA, and listening to them say, well, is that really the case? Oh, you don't really know that, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yes, we do know it. And now the lawyer for the NRA comes out and actually says it. So it's just vindication. Yeah. It's like, man.
Hey, Doctor, can I get what Kamala Harris would say to Donald Trump right there? I think that would be applicable.
Do not come. Do not come.
But what did Trump say? He just had a town hall. What did he say in that town hall?
I'm going to come.
Spicy episode.
Yeah,
folks.
No, I told you. We told you. Fair warning. But legitimately, while you were like throwing your hands up in victory over there, I was like, "Oh, doctor, please play Kamala. Please." I was like,
and whenever you say play Kamala, I want to hear Trump's response.
Oh,
although he wasn't really responding to her, folks. This is just two different sound clips, which just kind of funny together.
But man, do they go together well. But anyway, yeah, Tim. Turns out betrayal in court. Wow. So now that we've had your fun,
yes,
and you've had your moment of vindication, which I really enjoyed watching in real time. By the way, I thought that was special.
Yeah.
Here's the question I have for you: is this a moment where they are, because they are absolutely distancing from the problem as they perceive it, 100%, while still saying he's a valuable leader, but they betrayed the mission, right? Do you think this is the beginning of a U-turn and then a hard push back to reclaim their spot in the 2A community? Or do you think that this is quite literally just covering their own skin? The executive board still the same cesspool that it was. What are your initial gut reactions just looking at their movement?
The former. I mean, this is just jockeying in court. I don't think there's really been any decision up top, as to the new. I mean, they still have to pick new leadership. They have to figure out a path forward. Where they're going to go, I think it's anybody's guess. This is just a lawyer trying to protect their client, which is the NRA. And basically, they're going to blame Wayne for everything.
So you think it's just lawyer court speak?
What's that? Yeah.
So you think it's just lawyer court speak covering their butts in the court case? Yeah. No change of action. That's what you think?
Not yet. Well, I think the NRA's only choice at this point is to make that hard turn and become the rights organization, or they're going to die. So they don't really have a choice. It's a binary choice for them. If they try to just kind of limp forward and sweep this under the rug and pretend like it didn't happen, that'd be the worst thing they could possibly do.
I would agree. I think that would be the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. I'm going to be following this one pretty tight because I love watching organizations move and twist and turn to challenges that they incorporate and that they encounter. In my personal opinion, the NRA would have to come back, do a U-turn, put the right person in, and then do a hard concerted push to where they actually were relevant again. That's honestly, I think that's the only way you do it, because you said something in your moment where you were really, really excited. That was so powerful and so realistic. If you keep the fight going and you never solve the problem, then you keep your relevance important. It's the political move, right? So don't ever solve the problem because you need me. If I solve the problem, I solve the problem out of my own job, right? I think that is such an interesting piece because what we've been seeing over the past 20, 30 years, I think is exactly that. You've had the NRA being the only kid on the block representing gun rights. You've had the gun lobby, which is the Democrat politicians, representing the opposite. And nothing ever moved, right? It was always a little bit this way, a little bit that way, just enough to keep themselves relevant. So they were still getting paid. They were still having their incomes. Everything was still there. the status quo is effectively what I'm saying. It was very 80s, 90s, early 2000s politician, right? But you had segments of the gun controlling groups splinter off. You got 4 main gun control groups. Then you had gun rights groups splinter off from the NRA, and you got 4 or 5 main gun rights groups. And now we're all going at it on the sidelines in like a little street fight because the big boys have been basically relegated to the closet because they weren't doing anything. Basically, I think that inadvertently, the NRA doing this kind of crap opened up the door for us to truly fight, which is why I think you have a breakout of all these different rulings, all these different victories, and these different court cases. I think that all contributes to it. What say you?
No, I would agree. I think certainly having more than one group fighting for us, first of all, being a good capitalist, I like competition, right? So if one group isn't doing it right, pick a different group. One product doesn't work for you. If your Chevy doesn't run right, go pick up a Ford, vice versa, right? So that's
just don't suck start it.
Just don't suck start them. That's a good way to die. So what you want to do here is have that competition between groups. So I'm perfectly fine with having, NRA come roaring back and still supporting GOA, still supporting FPC and SAF, because they're all good groups and they all bring different cases. It's nice having GOA focusing on this case and having FPC focusing on this case, because people have it in their minds that these organizations have just unlimited resources and funds, and they don't. They actually have just a handful of millions of dollars, which may seem like a lot of money to us, because $1 million would certainly make my life a lot easier. But $1 million in the grand scheme of things, when you're fighting court cases and dealing in DC, is nothing. And literally, that's what they're dealing with is a few million here and a few million. That's all, folks. A few million there, right? So they're not as big. So if we can have more of them fighting different cases, that's beneficial to us. So I will always like having more than less in terms of people out there fighting for us.
No, absolutely. And then you also have the added effect of the smaller, more nimble organizations moving faster than the Titanics of the NRAs and these huge organizations who are, there's lots of different elements to that. And I agree. The more people doing it in their own ways is a great thing to strengthen.
For the last 15 years, the NRA has been playing, leading from behind, right? You have the smaller groups bringing the cases, and NRA has been trying to slide in on their cases and file an amicus brief here and then slip their name in there and say, oh yeah, we're going to support you now. This goes all the way back to Heller.
They did try to do that.
They opposed it.
Yeah, they did.
They spent your money, NRA members, opposing Heller, trying to keep it from going to the Supreme Court. Then when the Supreme Court agreed to pick it up, all of a sudden NRA is all on board. And then they claimed victory afterwards.
See, I think that had less to do with money and more to do with political win versus loss. I don't know.
It absolutely did. But they were, the NRA has historically been scared of a fight. They wanted to maintain the status quo. They didn't want to heavily rock the boat, and they didn't want to risk too much. But you don't win if you don't risk anything. And so they
and the irony,
bad leadership.
The irony of the ARs. No, I agree. It's leadership for their own purposes, not for the mission. Again, betrayal. I think it's interesting. All these things coming together. I love this stuff because the ARs, like for example, they left wants ARs more than they want to breathe, right? So if they want ARs so bad, had the fight begun earlier in the issuance of ARs, if it had been fought around the 1994 era when the AR ban came out, or AWB rather, it would have been a harder fight than now, because now you've got 25 million of them on the street in common use. And they're by far the most popular firearm in the United States, by far.
That's happened over the last 30 years.
I don't know. I just think it's so interesting because the fight is going to go, it's not going to go how the left thinks it's going to go. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say.
I hope.
No, I hope so too. But you know what else is based on hope?
What's that?
This next segment, Tim. This next segment, because we have got to transition to CNN.
Oh,
I know.
Geez.
I know. And I apologize in advance to not only you, but the beautiful people of the Second Legacy. But we owe it to them.
Yeah. The Communist News Network, formerly known as the Clinton News Network.
Yeah. That's right. They're moving up in the world. Tim, I think it's important to note, to set these segments up, Biden's not doing too well in polling. He's not.
Not according to Harry Sison. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, but not Harry. But Harry is the eternal optimist, that breathless wonder.
Gen Z. I'm not going to say it. Yeah. They haven't dropped yet. I don't even think the guy has hair on his face yet, but he's an expert in all things political. So anyway.
Right. Yeah, you didn't know. This new gen is coming out. It's coming out swinging.
Speaking from experience, his vast experience. Anyway, go ahead.
That's true. It's vast experience. I can't see. I can't. I can't. Okay. So the thing that I wanted to put this in, and it actually dovetails into our G3 segment pretty nicely, inadvertently, to be honest. When the Democrats are in trouble, and the presidents who's a Democrat, or any politicians, or the congressional ballot in general, they always seem to go back to the exact same things, which I personally find a little bit offensive, right? I'm going to set the clip up, but you're going to find the theme here pretty quick, Tim. I think even we will pick this up. This is number 7. Doctor, could you play that for us?
Former President Obama met for a private lunch with President Biden recently to express concern about how Biden is managing his reelection bid. This comes as President Biden is struggling to solidify support among black voters, including on that trip to South Carolina. Obviously, you were instrumental in Biden getting the Democratic nomination. Obviously, black voters were instrumental in President Biden getting, then Senator Biden, or then Vice President Biden, getting the nomination in 2020. How worried are you about black voters showing up for President Biden in November?
Well, I'm not worried. I'm very concerned. And I have sat down with President Biden. I don't know. I saw those reports. I've also seen at least one report indicating that I have sat down with President Biden, and I did with him. And I've told him what my concerns are. I have no problem with the Biden administration and what it has done. My problem is that we have not been able to break through that MAGA wall in order to get to people exactly what this president has done.
I can tell you what he's done. He's destroyed the country, but
he has.
It's crazy because the Democrats historically have relied on the fact that the black voters, they just took them for granted. It's like, yeah, we got them in our pocket, so we're just going to go ahead and count 99% of black Americans are going to go ahead and vote for us. So now let's focus on Latinos and white females and cities and soccer moms, whatever, because everything's about race and everything's So they've always just taken that black vote for granted. So when Trump shows up and gets 12% of the vote, it causes a panic because they're like, oh my gosh, they're starting to realize we're screwing them over. That all the free stuff we promised we never deliver on.
It's just,
and they're racist
to me. And
Biden, I just want to say that I post all the time on Twitter.
Go ahead.
People say, oh, all these people come out and say, oh, Biden's so great. Look at, he spoke at a black church, and I'll just post a link to a website that documents all of his recent racist remarks and statements. I mean, this is a guy that told an Indian dude that you can't walk into a 7-Eleven without seeing somebody like him. This is a guy that said he didn't want his children growing up in a racial jungle. This is a man that has been
also true
that has buddied up to Klans members and everything else and looked up to them. This man is a wild racist all the way up until today. Corn Pop was a bad dude, So it's just, the man is a horrible racist, and the fact that he thinks that he can just get the black vote, that it's owed to him, which is what he said. If you ain't black, whatever, when he said on the Charlemagne the God.
No, if you don't vote,
vote for me, you ain't black. If you don't
vote for me, then you ain't
That's
black.
what it was, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's just endless. And see, he didn't even know he was saying something racist at that point. That took Charlemagne the God by surprise. He's like, what? I mean, he didn't know how to handle that.
Right. And I think you, first of all, excellent memory on all of those. Like, you nailed all of those, and all of those were actually accurate. Yes. That's incredible. Like almost verbatim.
Are you saying that I normally make things up? How dare you, sir?
Maybe. No, you're actually incredibly factual. My problem is usually not that you can remember things. My problem is usually you remember things too well, where I'm like, YouTube doesn't like it. YouTube doesn't like it. Exactly. Yeah. But to your point though, and this is what really bothers me about the left's approach, because every single thing is all about race. Everything. Doesn't matter. You are in a demographic bucket. If you're in this bucket, you do this. If you're in this bucket, then you do this. And it's not only race, it's also class. It's basically any way that they can segment the population into buckets against each other, like they do it with unions. They do it with race. They do it with sex. They do it with demographics. They do it across the board. But the thing that really, really bothers me about this is, there's, how are you going to get the black vote to turn out? Wait, hold on a second. Shouldn't that question be, how are you going to get Americans to vote for you? Right. Why does it have to be, how are we going to get what's rightfully ours to show up?
Always down racial lines.
That is really messed up. I've always thought that that's really messed up, because the assumption is, well, it's not that you have to bring forward the best ideas. It's how are you going to get that vote, which is owed to you, which is obviously going to vote for you, to get out there and vote for you. It's such a, in my opinion, truly disgusting.
And this is the same group of people, the same party that says horribly racist things like, well, we got to get rid of all voter ID requirements because black people can't get IDs. And they can't get a driver's license.
Actually happened.
I mean, that is wildly racist, but that's their argument against voter ID.
Right.
And they don't even see it. And they'll call us racist. Yeah. And we're the ones saying, I don't care what your skin color is. You just need to show up to a poll, show ID, prove you're a citizen, and vote. Unless you just want to do mail-in ballots from Germany and France and Spain and England. I mean, what's your goal here?
See it now. I can see it now. I want to vote for Biden, yeah?
It's crazy.
It is. Well, and that's the thing. And we've got one more clip on top of this. But all of this is happening at the exact same time, Tim, that the African-American electorate, the African-American population, is buying guns at an unprecedented rate.
Yep.
Not only that, also African-American females are buying guns at an unprecedented rate. You are looking at something, and this is where it goes broad. This is where you back out to the broad trends, right? You are looking at something that's not just, I don't like this, I don't like that, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. If you're looking at buying behavior, if you are looking at the spending behavior, if you are looking at all these different basically lagging indicators that are showing where people are acting, not what they're saying, something is going on underneath the surface, and that's what they're trying to hit on. And completely unrelated. Did you like, by the way, in this video, this segment where he's like, well, I have seen those reports, and I also saw a report on myself, so I did, and I watched that report on myself, and I did indeed show up to the White House. I'm like,
what's that all about?
What the frack?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, unrelated, but squirrel. But anyway, I think it's so fascinating. His ending statement where he's like, well, he's done all these amazing things. It's just that MAGA wall. Yeah. We haven't been able to penetrate it with how many great, amazing things he's done. And it's like, wait a minute. Your actions aren't speaking for themselves. It's people just aren't believing you. Oh, but no, it's not the problems with your policies. No. It's just that you haven't been able to break through that great MAGA wall, which I don't even know what that means.
What is that? Yeah. No.
Anyway, you ready for another clip from CNN?
No, but
I'm
let's
excited
do it.
to see your
pull the Band-Aid off.
I'm excited to see your reaction on this one. Number 8, sir.
But why hasn't the president been effective then with the messaging, touting those accomplishments, as you say, to constituents, to voters of color, that Charlemagne is speaking on behalf of, essentially, when he says, look, I'm frustrated, I don't feel like he's done enough, and what he's doing now just isn't cutting it?
Well, the truth is, Charlemagne and I share frustration. Mine is a little bit different because I believe that the president is doing, and the vice president, their role, which is President Biden wakes up every day trying to figure out how he can make this country better for you, for your community, for your families. And he keeps his head down and he does the work, which is why he has so many accomplishments.
Okay, let me before you jump quick, let me just highlight something really key. And this is, I think, important between these two segments. The Jake Tapper thing was recorded on Sunday. That was when it aired. This one that I just showed you was recorded yesterday. Okay, so there's 3 or 4 days in between here. The thing that I think is so fascinating is they're not only focusing on the African-American vote, demographic, voter block, all that. They're also going down the exact same road of what's just not landing. Like it's obviously so many amazing things have happened, but why aren't people believing it?
Right.
Again, it's that same narrative of, oh, it's so incredible. And did you notice what the guy fell back on? He fell back on, well, he wakes up every day with the intent to really help Americans. Yeah. Extremely broad, intent-based, not results-based. Everything that we're seeing right now is going back to a broad-based, well, he intends to have the best outcomes, which means he's not. And that's, I think, incredibly important. Sorry, go.
People just don't appreciate all that Joe's done. He's up at noon, eats his oatmeal. He's there to fight for the American people all the way till 2:00 in the afternoon when he heads back to bed. I mean, the man, that's all he thinks about for a couple hours he's awake.
Timeless. Just,
yeah. I mean, this is consistent with them. It's your fault that you don't see how great he is, because every other president or elected official before him requires, constant goading and being told that, look how great this person is. You need to vote for him again. Now, people kind of come to that conclusion on their own based on what they're experiencing in their lives, like eggs being twice as much, gas being twice as much, rent being unaffordable, mortgage prices doubling. It's just, that's why people are upset with this administration. They're doing what they're supposed to. What's that? The guy doesn't even campaign. And Kamala Harris, what does she do? She shows up once every quarter or so and cackles on TV, says something stupid, gets drugged through the media for it, and disappears again. And they're wondering why nobody wants to vote for these clowns.
Tim, it's the MAGA wall.
It's the MAGA wall.
The MAGA
wall.
I even heard that can't penetrate it.
I even heard that they brought in reporters to lecture them about how they're not doing their jobs, telling the world how great Biden is, and gave them talking points.
Yeah. I actually heard that too. That's weird. Weird how that
If you're such a great leader, do you need to do that? No, because actions speak louder than words. People just know you're a great leader when you do what you're supposed to and do good things.
What about if you're a deer leader? Does that count? Anyway, so I think Doctor had something to say there. You were excited.
I got hairy legs.
You got to let him come in here occasionally, Tim.
That's right.
It's like a good marriage.
I love kids jumping on my lap.
Just the white ones.
He was just waiting the wings.
Beep.
Oh my God! And deleted.
He's a racist.
And we're back.
All right.
Oh my.
It's documented.
Tim has determined. He has been okayed by his own Timness. He just pulled from Tim on high. I deem this acceptable. Let's move forward. And so, in the vein, it is that time for G3.
Okay.
In the vein of horrible people doing horrible things.
All right.
Go.
Well, so the second one will kind of dovetail into the discussion we just had. But first of all, we got to bring up old K-12 database, our friends over there.
How are they doing?
Well, apparently,
how are they doing?
They don't just have a beef with the Second Amendment. They have a problem with the first one, too. If we could bring up number 9, Doc. So here's K-12 in their infinite wisdom. Moments before the school shooting at Perry High School in Iowa, the teen shooter posted on Discord. Discord was used to plan Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, January 6th, insurrection, but the FBI said there was no insurrection, Buffalo grocery store shooting, and then Ohio synagogue mass shooting. And so that's all he says. He leaves it there, right? Nothing else. That is apparently an attack on the First Amendment. Get rid of Discord because Discord and guns are the problem. So now we're adding.
If it just didn't exist.
And so I was going to type a lengthy response to this, but I thought, well, let's take a look at some of the comments before I do. And sure enough, number 10, Doc, they already said everything I was going to say. So now
we got great people in our community.
We do.
They just go to work.
I mean, once you make them aware these goons exist, then they carry the water for you. They do all the heavy lifting. So here we go. We have this guy saying, so now you're not only anti-2A, but you're anti-First Amendment. And then it's just unbelievable. If you go through and read the comments, I'm sure they're still piling up because this was from this morning. So I didn't respond. I mean, what are your thoughts on this guy?
So here's the thing. I think that this is first observation. I'm gonna get to K through 12 in a second. But first I want to actually hit on the responses here. There's not a single vitriolic response here. There is no curse words. There is no direct immediate attacks. It's all based on fact. It's all based on reality. It's all based on what they said. And it was about the topic. It wasn't targeting the individual. Wasn't targeting a group of people. It was literally, it's good to see you shed the veil of safety and return to totalitarian fascist. You and all the gun control advocates really are. That's exactly correct. He didn't target anybody. Or she, I don't outlay. You never know. The FBI knew about the guy's Discord for 2 years and did nothing. Oh, that's rich. Let's just get rid of social media. That's the whole point. The difference is we can just basically state fact on what we're talking about, and everything else is self-evident. Oops, see what I did there, Tim? Did you see that?
I've heard that before.
Okay.
Yes.
It's great. It's a great phrase.
Nice tie-in. Yes.
But anyway, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your whatever. Anyway, so. Now let's get to K-12 because man,
he's special.
This speaks to they is special.
Bless his little soul.
Bless his heart, my people in the South would say. This part right here, I think, is fascinating because you're now advocating for, well, it's Discord's fault that all of these things that I've deemed unacceptable as I've listed, are horrible. And they could be horrible. They could not be horrible. The point is, in his perspective, he comes out and says, these things are bad. Therefore, they happened on Discord. They happened on Facebook. They happened on Twitter. Therefore, we should just get rid of those platforms because then it'll never happen again. What you are actually witnessing is not we're here for gun safety. Again, dovetailing into what we talked about earlier in this episode. This is all about controlling areas of which you can't control. I can't control you talking about something. Let's get rid of that First Amendment area. I can't control your gun rights. Let's get rid of that area. You don't like paying back your student debt loans. Let's get rid of that area. This entire thing is so broad, which is why one of my main things that I've been saying for a long time, the gun rights side of this fight for our rights nationally, we are so used to what they do to us and what they do to our gun rights that they are now transitioning into other areas and other rights. And we're like, hey, we've been here for years. You guys want to recruit us? Because like legitimately, we're ready. We've been doing this. We're hardened. They've been calling us every name in the book for 20 and 30 years. And I think that's incredibly important to say.
I mean, this is the same guy that supports, red flag laws, which is a gross violation of our Fifth Amendment rights. They go after the Fourth Amendment. Here's going after the First Amendment. He exists to go after the Second Amendment. That's what they do, folks. They hate the fact that you have rights. They hate the fact that they can't control you in everything you do. Why?
It's control.
This little idiot isn't going to have any power. And I'm sure that a lot of his worldview comes from the fact that the guy's picture's right on his Facebook page, or I'm sorry, on his X profile. The guy had to gotten beaten up a lot in high school, and he's just angry at the world.
Well, I think that was a big part of it.
And
that was a big part of it.
It's just he's just an angry little man, and he just this is the same guy that swore 3 or 4 weeks ago that he was leaving X because of all the racists. That's the term he used.
Oh, this is K-12. You're talking about K-12.
K-12,
yeah,
yes.
About the
Dave.
K-12 guy.
Dave
Gotcha.
is his name, Davey. He vowed to leave, told everybody to go to a Substack.
Davies.
We have 2 Davies. You have Davey Hogg and Davey K-12.
Yeah, but why? Kids, don't name your kid Davey.
It's David or Dave. We call him Davey. But anyway.
Yeah, but don't do it.
It's a nice biblical name. It's just too bad it's wasted on this guy. But anyway, so yeah. This guy, it fits all the stereotypical things of gun grabbers, and he can't help himself, just like they can't posting stupid stuff. And of course, if you don't agree with him, you're a racist. He was going to leave X because of you racists that support your gun rights.
But now he's back.
But he never left. He didn't even take a day off.
What do you think that
he just started posting?
What do you think that people?
Yeah, come see me over Substack. Come see me over at Substack. Oh, by the way, now I'm back to posting all my normal garbage.
What do you think that the Substack, the paid Substack, just didn't quite take off like he thought? What do you bet?
Yeah, the 3 people that went over there, mostly his relatives, probably. Yeah, they're not cutting it in terms of views and bills. Yeah.
So this next one,
spicy.
This is that spice.
Yeah.
And I think I am uniquely qualified to say the disclaimer. May I?
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay. This is an excellent example of how we on the right and we in the gun rights world disdain any type of demonization of any type of people group. We love everybody. Get in here. Second Amendment. The water's fine. Look how mean this person is. This is them, not us. Go team. Let's get it.
So this is not us, YouTube. This is us criticizing
someone else
person did it for their actions. All right. So I have often said on this channel and elsewhere that the far left and the anti-gunners, they're racists at their very core, but they like to hide behind the veil of, well, I'm really pro-rights. I'm anti-racism. I'm anti-bigotry. I'm anti-this. I'm anti-that. I just love all people. And they say it with the angriest face they can possibly come up with. They are hateful, nasty, mean people. And many of them, not all, are racists, but they like to claim they're not. Number 11, Doc. This is the person we're going to highlight today. Hello, Sunshine. Nice, friendly name. Here we go. They're here to stop ignorance, hatred, bigotry, racism, conspiracy theories, and the lies of the right. Okay?
Wow.
So this person is making a strong statement, folks. They're not a racist. And they exist on X to defeat bigotry and racism of the right. So we had a guest on the show. He goes by You Are a Smartass, Carl, on X. Mm-hmm. And he got into a little bit of a debate with this fine leftist, non-racist person. And they didn't like the direction the discussion was going, because when a racist and a leftist starts to lose the argument, Well, that thin veil of, I just love the world and we're all one big happy family and you are my brother and sister, no matter what your skin color, all that goes right out the window, goes straight into hardcore racism because they get mad and then they say what they're really thinking that they're trying to hide from you. So if somebody comes out and says, I'm not racist, I have black friends, chances are they may have done something racist in their past, right? So if they're out there trying to convince you they're not something versus just letting their actions speak, you might want to take a closer look at this person. And certainly in the case of Hello Sunshine here, number 12, Doc. So Carl points out that the truth of racism always shows up in his going back and forth with Hello Sunshine. And what does Hello Sunshine post?
That
I think that's from an old Picante commercial, like
something
like an old salsa commercial from the 80s or something.
He gets a salsa from New York City.
Is that, paste picante sauce? No, this is from New York City. Get a rope. If I'm remembering the advertisement, it's been a few years.
It's roughly. It's roughly.
They post that. And of course, when Carl points this out, the truth of racism always shows up. Hello Sunshine retorts with, how is this racist? You're very hypocritical.
Right.
I mean, seriously, is there any ambiguity in what Hello Sunshine posted there with that image?
Yeah, it's disgusting. But again,
I don't think they were arguing about picante sauce. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. For some reason, I don't think salsa was the focal point there. It goes back to something that we've said a couple times in this episode. Well, how are you going to get that vote to show up? What? You're just assuming that it's yours because you have a D in front of your name? Wow. Okay. Try that on any other group or any other political platform. But then the other thing here is, well, we don't want more guns in the population. By the way, the number one demographic that's growing is Black single females. Just saying that's a big one. And they're pushing even harder. They don't want in the gun control areas, which happen to have the largest cities, they don't want gun rights to proliferate. So what they do is they say, well, you have your Second Amendment rights, so we're just going to put all these taxes and fees, make you pay for your own fingerprinting, make you re-up this every year, make sure you go through the entire thing. Costs thousands of dollars every year. They know people can't afford it, and so they just don't have their rights. And it affects those that are disproportionately on the lower end of the spectrum, and that affects every demographic in every race. But for somebody who's going down this road of the minorities or the minority of anything is a downtrodden group of people who we need to protect, and then they do things that we cover all the time, and then this shows up, and this is just the ugly face of
this is who they are, folks. And this person is not alone. I see this time and time again, which is why I formulated the opinion that I have of these people. They're disingenuous. They hate you and your rights. If you don't agree with them, then they want nothing to do with you. Like me, I've had friends my entire life. I'm Christian. I've had agnostic and friends of different faiths. I don't care because that doesn't define the person, right? I can be friends with a leftist. I can be friends with somebody on the right. I can be friends with somebody who doesn't even have a political opinion because not everything in life is politics. But these folks, they're a different breed. They're a different breed.
What was that
they
world
want
like?
Nothing to do with
that. Sounds like a nice world.
Yeah. I mean, people in my own family
go bowling?
that fall on the left side of the spectrum kicked us out of Christmas. We didn't even get invited because of our disagreements over the Wuhan Weezer, right? So
not the Weezer.
I've never told anybody in my family, right or left, that I don't want to see you because of your politics. But the left people in our family certainly have no
politics. Oh, you just kicked open a can of worms for me. Why was that politics? Like I still don't know why that got politically entwined. I am still confused.
Because dingbats like JoJo on X said, "I'm not taking Trump's vaccine," and then a year later, "Hey, I got my vaccine. Anybody else joining me?" They're idiots.
Also, Kamala also said that.
A lot of them did. When Trump was talking about the vaccine.
JoJo from Jers.
Yeah. The left was totally opposed to Trump's vaccine. And then when the Trump vaccine comes out, people on the right like, I don't know if I want anything to do with this. It was people on the left like, you're going to prison if you don't get the vaccine. You're never going to go to a sporting event again. You aren't going to be able to take public transportation. We're going to lock you up. I mean, they're lunatics.
True.
What else? What other evidence do you need?
Hey, Tim, as we wrap this episode, I need an over-under on something.
Yes.
All right. What do you think the over-under is? This gets past the YouTube overlords. This episode.
I think there's a good chance that we're going to have to go to our rep and say, hey, this is what really happened here.
I'm going to go with 7 out of 10. I'm thinking 7 out of 10 chance it does.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.